Thank you so much, Alfre. When you were around John Lewis, you knew you were one step closer to all being free. So thank you for that. Thanks for having me tonight. And Almighty God, please help me here, for I've been asked to do something almost impossible. To recall in just a minute or two the monumental life of my dear and departed friend, the Honorable John Lewis, and offer some words of prayer as we come together to honor him and his wife Lillian today. It was about half a life ago when we met, we from different backgrounds and faiths and even generations, but we sure had a common goal: to try and improve the world we lived in however we could, and not hesitate to make some changes to what we saw while doing so. Ooh, those unforgettable eyes of John Lewis. His focused look could melt an iceberg, lift up a friend, disarm an opponent, or, as history knows very well, even an entire system. To be sure, I learned over time that while not everyone always agreed with John Lewis, everyone respected him. For how can someone not respect a man who began with so little, armed not with weapons of steel, but with an indomitable spirit and a pressing moral cause, and, as I often like to say, stared down the worst of humanity with the best of humanity, and won. And when he won for everyone, and he helped lead an entire generation to a better way. Dear God, we know that's what you want. But, dear God, we were shockingly reminded once again in Buffalo just a few days ago that the struggle against racism, anti-Semitism, and hate, though having come such a long way, still continues. We need your strength to deal with this. And pray you help us all who truly just want to be decent human beings to understand each other better and find agreement where we can, and understanding when we can't yet find agreement. For that is what you want. Please get the haters to deal with their issues otherwise, so they don't have to hunt and hurt and kill people who aren't like them just to feel good. For that is what you don't want. Now, personally, I remain grateful for John Lewis's help in securing a Congressional Gold Medal for my mentor, the great leader of world Jewry, Rabbi Menachem M. Schneerson of blessed memory. Mr. Lewis shared powerful words at that ceremony, etched into the memory of millions the world over, when he said, "We may no longer see the Rebbe with our eyes, but his spirit lives in our hearts, in our souls, and in our deeds." During those efforts, when we faced some real challenges, he would remind me with conviction to just keep on keeping on. And I hear that voice even now, don't we all? Over the years, on so many occasions, he'd urge innumerable people to make some of what he called good trouble. And he'd privately tell me how he so deeply wished and even prayed that the trouble would stay good. For not all trouble is good trouble, but good trouble is the best trouble, because it changes not just circumstances, but people. Good trouble is trouble that changes people. Though John Lewis was not very tall, he was most certainly a giant of a man. Everyone seemed to look up to John Lewis. But he never, ever did look down on anyone. He saw decency where it wasn't yet apparent, then worked to realize it. And he saw only love, when hate seemed to lurk all over the place. So maybe I should use his very own words and conclude that we may no longer see him with our eyes, but his spirit lives in our hearts, in our souls, and yes, whenever we take the braver course of decency and work to make the world better, also in our deeds. That is what he would want. And I pray, dear God, it is what you would want. Thank you.